Welcome to the Cinephile Hissy podcast, the tirade-filled movie debate podcast hosted by two film critics, two cool dads, and two struggling teachers. I'm Don Shanahan.
And I'm William Johnson.
We're damn glad to have you folks. This is all for tantrum's sake, where shared passions and high fives wash away any place for hate. In the end, we encourage you all to love what you love. But for now, the gloves are off and the hissy fit is on. This week, we have a guest that will be introduced by Will in a moment here, but we're here to talk about The Suicide Squad, new release from Warner Brothers and DC. It has been recommended by kind of just about everybody who's on this dais today. And our format is this. The recommending lover will go first. And in this case, it'll be our guest because we're nice guys and we let the guest go first before we hog all the airwaves. That's more Will than me, but that's where it's going to be. They will get 5 uninterrupted minutes to shower their praise and state their high-minded case. The hater, Will Johnson, follows with 5 uninterrupted minutes of his own to present their counterpoints with any manner of intellectual scorched earth. After that, we will open it up for 15 or 20 minutes. We got some extra people today. We'll let it go a little bit of shared conversation where the hissy fit really gets chippy. We hope you've got your judge's scorecard to evaluate where this is going to land in terms of good, bad, love, or hate. Folks, let's go. Will Johnson, tell us who's here today.
Oh, well, I'm really pleased to have this guest today. And at last notice, too, because we were planning something for the future, but they found some time to come in today, so I'm very excited. Self-described cinephile, dog mom, wife, and very important Stallone enthusiast, is also a social media and programming manager, is also the films and events curator for the soon-to-be Majestic Cinema Girls in Metro Phoenix. I met them as the social media and programming manager at the Alamo Drafthouse Phoenix. She is a genius, y'all. I met her at a screening of Angel Heart, and her theory on the utilization of fans in that film blew my mind. She's great. So this is, without further ado, Lauren Knight.
Hello.
Woo-hoo.
Hi.
Hello.
Lauren, it is good to meet you. Big virtual wave from Chicago. Hi.
Yes, virtual wave. It's an honor to be invited onto your podcast. I'm very excited.
Lauren's really brilliant, man. If you want to talk about movies, I mean, she's always there at the Alamo. I've been basically meeting her through the Horror Tuesdays event, or what's the official title for it? I'm bad at titles. Is it Horror Tuesdays, Terror Tuesdays? What is it officially?
Well, we're going to be rebranding it very, very soon. But basically, right now, it's just boring, and it's Tuesday Horror.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
Cut and dry.
Yeah. But there's a great staff over there, and Lauren's the head of that, and it's fantastic. So, but we invited her specifically because not only is she a Stallone enthusiast, so she's got a new Stallone film for her to fangirl over, but she's also a very strong. I exaggerate the amount of times she's already seen the Suicide Squad, but I felt like she's seen it like 6 times before it was released. So that's kind of how I looked at it. So she must be a big fan. So we had to get her on the program for this particular episode.
All right. I'm digging it. So, folks, as you heard with our format, 5 uninterrupted minutes. Lauren, you are the guest. The timer is on. Fire away.
Oh, my gosh. There's so much pressure because I just get to talk uninterrupted for 5 minutes. Okay. So I'm going to start by saying I did not hate David Ayer's Suicide Squad. And I know that that's probably going to make a lot of people turn your podcast off. And I'm very sorry about that. I had and have no connection to these characters whatsoever. I did not read comics growing up. I still don't read comics. I did marry a DC nerd. He has DC themed tattoos, including the old school like circle and stars logo like on his elbow. So I have learned a lot in like 10 years, specifically about DC comics and other comics in general. But that being said, like, of course I knew who Harley Quinn was. I had heard of Killer Croc because also like Batman the Animated Series was like, the biggest thing when I was growing up. So, but I didn't care about any of these characters. I had no emotional connection. I had no like absolutely nothing. So I went into the first Suicide Squad just like expecting something a little bit darker, and it was, and I had a blast. You guys, I had like a margarita or two, and everyone says that was why, but I own it on Blu-ray. I've seen it since. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, it's dumb fun. Like, you just sit back and just like let it just happen, and it's kind of crazy. And I know it's not his cut, blah blah blah. which leads me to James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I have been stoked about this from the beginning. I am a huge James Gunn fan. I've seen almost all of the features that he has done. I'm missing his trauma stuff. I'm admittedly not the biggest trauma fan. Sorry. But anyway, so I was excited from the beginning. I thought that Disney's loss would be WB's gain during that whole thing. And then the fact that it's R rated and that Warner Brothers let him do an R rated is, I think, really, really important because this movie would not have worked as well if it had been PG-13. I also think James has a really great way of writing uh dialogue and just really setting up scenes that make you feel for the characters, especially the ones that are non human. He has a really soft touch when it comes to that, and I don't know if it's because he himself is like a dog lover and like an animal rescuer and things, but he has a really great way of humanizing every character, especially those that don't have human features. Um, and I think the writing in this was obviously way, way better. It does have my man Sylvester Stallone, which is the most excited thing for me at the time. And then the movie overall just absolutely knocked it out of the park. I love gore, like I love action movies. So like I love all those 80s. I love Commando. I love all the canon movies. So it's like if there's like blood hitting the lens, like I'm into it. So this had everything that I wanted. It also uh people were criticizing online about Harley Quinn's portrayal and comparing it to Birds of Prey, which first of all, this movie is called The Suicide Squad. It's not called like the Harley Quinn movie. Second of all, there's a scene in there with her and El Presidente, and she talks about red flags. She gives a monologue about red
Mm,
flags. And
mhm.
I think that is one of the better written lines, even compared to Birds of Prey. Am I out of time?
No, not at all. 1 minute to
Oh,
go.
I thought I heard a countdown. Sorry. Oh,
I
I see
got I
it
got
now.
it in the chat if you need it.
Oh, I see it in the chat. Hey, it's all right. Sorry, everyone.
You're doing great.
um, oh my gosh, it's really difficult to talk about a movie for 5 minutes without being like interrupted or having questions asked about it. Anyway, I think that scene with her and El Presidente really is some of the better written Harley characterizations because it makes her out to be an actual human, and you see the suffering that she had endured in her life that wasn't just like physical abuse. It really actually showed that the like emotional abuse is really more, it really cuts deeper and really f's you up more. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast.
You could
Than
totally swear on this podcast.
that oh sweet, it fucks you up more than the physical abuse does. So overall, I absolutely loved it. I saw it twice. I went to two advanced screenings, one in IMAX and one not. And I think that this movie just has it has humor, it has heart, it has action, it has vulgarity, and I was super super impressed by it, to be honest, on just on its own thing. Woo!
Nicely done. Look at that girl go.
I
All right, all right.
I should note that
Uh-oh.
Lauren's husband is also named Will, and he is a mirror universe version of me because he has the DC tattoos. I
Right.
have the Marvel tattoos on my body. I would say he's my evil version, but that would mean that evil wins because while I die alone, Will gets to be married to Lauren, and that's awesome in itself. So that's fantastic. So there you go.
That sounds
I
that sounds
actually
like a
do have
really
a
pathetic cry for help right there, Will. I'm sorry.
don't sell yourself short, Will. I actually
Oh
have a
no, please do.
DC
Sell him short.
tattoo.
Oh,
I
you
have a Batman and Catwoman tattoo on my thigh in honor of my husband and my marriage.
There you go.
oh
All
There's,
right.
instead of a guest book, people signed the matte framing of that went around a large poster I had printed of another artist's interpretation. And I'm blanking on his name, and I feel so bad because I reached out to him personally because I needed a 24 by 36 sized poster.
Mhm.
But of the Hush comic books
Oh yeah.
oh
edition, and it's Batman and Catwoman kissing on the rooftop. And
Yeah.
so
That'd be
we had
Jim
our
Lee.
wedding guests
Uh-huh.
sign a matte frame And so
Very
now like
cool.
that poster with their, little well wishes and stuff hangs in our house. And so I have an interpretation of Batman and Catwoman kissing on my thigh.
That is that's so romantic. That is so
Okay,
awesome. Like,
you're gonna say romantic. I'm gonna say that's fucking hot. That's awesome. Sorry, that's
I will
awesome.
accept both. I will accept
Correct.
both.
Thank you very much. All right.
Okay, sorry.
No, 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 you're good. 5 minutes tag. I'm in. I'll see what I can do here as the other lover. All right. No, for me, I gotta echo where Lauren's coming from. This movie is just a blast, and James Gunn is an absolute coup for what Warner Brothers and DC can bring into this. Does it probably get that initial observation and expectation knock of, oh, this is just Guardians of the Galaxy, only with DC people, ragtag bunch of dudes and misfits and sarcastic humor and the violence and all that? I said, yeah, a little bit, but the dynamics are different because the characters are different, and the dynamics are different because the tone is able to be different. That James Gunn takes his whatever you want to call it, his niche, his wheelhouse for ensembles and clever writing, but he brings it to a place where he can escalate to an R-rated level, and he can escalate it to characters even less than something like Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think that's a lot of fun. So I will back up Lauren. I mean, I didn't grade it very highly, but I don't mind the 2016 David Ayer Suicide Squad. I think it's a mixed bag because it's trying for the wackadoodle stuff because it's the ragtag thing, but then it has this deadly serious tone that kind of matched where they wanted to go with some things, but obviously that's kind of restricted by PG-13ness. Where I wish I'm one of those people. I'm not going to start the hashtag and release the AR cut like everybody else, but I would gladly
ugh.
take. I know. I would gladly take a full balls cut of whatever Jared Leto and Margot Robbie can do with that sort of movie and add a little more to it. I'm down for that. If you're gonna go dark, go all the way. And that movie didn't because it still tried to be silly and you know irreverent at the same time. And you just can't do that without having all of it kind of just brew in the same kind of direction. And James Gunn could do that with the visual flair that he has as a filmmaker, and with the obviously the dynamite writing he can have for dialogue and character interactions. That comes out of this movie because some of that is getting the right people in place, including James Gunn. Because the MVP for me, I'm not. Stallone's fine. I'm sure Will is going to go on the Groot tangent later, and I'll save that waste of time for his 5 minutes. But for me, the linchpin for this movie, outside of Margot Robbie, who's amazing, you give that character a larger platform and interlude moment to have just the character growth that she goes through and kind of gets revealed to us. I know the popular word a lot of people like to put on there is, oh, she gets agency. She had it already before this movie. It just confirms it more and more with the way that she gets to play that character. And Margot Robbie's great at that. I mean, she's easily the best, most talented actor in this movie. Sorry, Idris Elba, Margot Robbie's better than you. But when you take that down to the shenanigans level, then you have somebody like John Cena, who I'm a 80s pro wrestling guy, where John Cena is, the 90s and Hufflepuff kind of stuff that WWE is now versus the R-rated stuff they were trying to do with the Attitude Era when I was in college and all that. So John Cena is very sanitized. He's that Make-A-Wish hero to the general public. To see him, bust some balls, throw on the tidy whities, and create that really good dynamic with Idris Elba cracked me up all movie. By the time you have the big headliners who are having that kind of fun, steer and push the plot forward. I love that James Gunn has, like you said, Lauren, that dedication to the small things, where it's Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2, who have easily the most emotional and poignant arcs out of the whole silly fun. They're the saviors of this movie, and it's awesome because the big players can still kind of migrate and just, like I said, push things along, but they fail if the little people don't support along the way. And Gunn, even in a very busy and big movie, gives those little characters great little moments to shine and from unexpected places. Peter Quill, if you do the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, Peter Quill and Gamora and all those are big characters that just aren't noticed by big audiences. Like, they have huge histories and they have big importances. Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2 don't. So for a movie of all places to kind of come in and kind of set that up really impressed me. And my goodness, just the glee and the fun of, like you said, blood and guts and just rampant violence and just devil may care attitude, and that worked out great for me. If I have to critique a part of the movie a little bit where I can be like, all right, a little much, the movie does go a little long. It's over 2 hours. It can kind of I don't want to say overstay its welcome, but the Jotunheim Tower conclusion can just go on a little too long, a little too this, a little too that. I would rather them just go straight to Starro and start blasting shit up, which was fantastic. And what a unique way of doing Starro. So I loved it. Look at that, right on time.
What the hell was that flourish at the end?
That's my timer on my iPhone. I'm
I
sorry.
didn't get a flourish.
You ended just on time for your flourish. I'll try to see if I can grab like the Price is Right loser horn buzzer for Will's 5 minutes and go for that. But no, Lauren put the Cheerios in the bowl. I poured in some warm, wonderful milk. Will, it's your turn for 5 minutes to piss in them Cheerios. Fire away, man.
All right. Okay, I'm not like. See.
Yeah, you are. Oh, uninterrupted minutes. Excuse me.
Shut up, Don. I always get these instant messages on Facebook. People are like, "You hate DC," and I'm like, "No, I don't hate DC." We got to remember that film is cyclical. Okay, like there was a time when DC was putting out the best superhero films, and Marvel was putting out piles of shit all the time. It's just the way it is. Like it just happens to be that Marvel makes consistently really good films right now, and DC's kind of been a smorgasbord of weird stuff. Some stuff works, some stuff doesn't. Audiences are very split on. It's very polarizing. Whatever. I don't want to make this a Marvel versus DC thing, but I kind of have to because I think that every time DC goes out on a limb, let's say with Birds of Prey, I feel like they get a little scared because of the backlash that you're going to get from a bunch of mouth-breathing idiots, because Birds of Prey is the best DCEU film of those 10 or 11 films that are in that DCEU, in my opinion. When they came out with Shazam, it was like, oh, we need to make like kind of like an Ant-Man movie. We need to have kind of like a little bit of a comedy to it, which they kind of still fucked up because I took my 6-year-old at the time or 5-year-old at the time to see that, and they're scared to death because that movie's fucking frightening. Right. Well, it's called Shazam, dude. It's got a guy with a fucking thunderbolt on his chest, and it's got what's his face making all kinds of jokes. And I was like, this is going to be great for kids. Anyways,
and then demons are throwing people out of boardrooms, and people are screaming for their lives. I know it's fucking awesome, but wrong movie.
No, I mean, I like it, but it's not a great movie. It's fine. But my point is that I think DC's biggest problem is that it's always tried to be like Marvel, like in terms of making an extended universe. To me, in the comics, DC's greatest strength was always its Elseworld stuff, because they could tell alternate stories that don't affect the canon, and that was, to me, their strongest part, whereas Marvel had a lot of great continuity. I mean, DC at one point had so much multiverse craziness that they basically created an entire comic book series or special event, Crisis on Multiple Earths or whatever the hell it's called, to basically say, okay, we're sorry we went crazy, let's just have one universe, okay? Marvel's always been able to handle that a lot better. My problem is when they do something different, like Birds of Prey, and then get scared off, they say, okay, we need to make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie, and let's see, what's Guardians of the Galaxy? James Gunn. Let's just get James Gunn to do it. He'll do the exact same thing. Yes, granted there are differences here. It's rated R, it's more violent, people can say curse words, people can have sex on camera, you can have all that stuff done, and that's fine. I don't think necessarily, it's kind of like how I view a lot of like HBO shows in the pristine TV era. It's like, just because you can have sex, violence, and profanity doesn't automatically make it better. You have to have a good style with that. James Gunn, to me, like, I think his best film is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it's a wonderful film. It makes me laugh, it makes me cry, it makes me feel so many emotions. It's great action, great comedy, great romance. I think it's one of the most romantic movies. It's just a great film. And I actually don't really like Guardians 2, because I think that he said, wow, look at that great job that I did. I'm going to take everything that people liked from Guardians 1 and just expand it a little bit more. There's more gags, there's more jokes, there's a little bit more hokey drama. The movie ends up being kind of cheesy and long, and it just, Guardians 2 just doesn't work on the same level that Guardians 1 does. And I see the same problem with Suicide Squad. I think it's saying, oh, I can make it really gory, so I'm going to make it really gory. I have no problem with gore. I love gore. But I also think of, like, for example, like, let's take, this would be a weird comparison, but let's take the movie Pineapple Express. Pineapple Express had all this ultra violence in it, with all this gore in it, like with the fight scenes and stuff, because they thought, oh, this will be funny to be in a comedy. Just because the existence of gore is there does not make it good. And I also think that, unfortunately, as much as people don't want to compare this and say that it's better because it's rated R and has all this stuff, unfortunately, it is a Guardians of the Galaxy remake in a sense, because it has the same character types. It has the same situations as trying to get you to feel something for these characters. And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having these misfits and quote unquote losers being humanized. But the problem is that they don't give them the same weight that they did in Guardians. Like Idris Elba is a fine actor, a fine character, but he doesn't have any depth to him. John Cena, who is to me the worst of the three wrestling actors of The Rock, Dave Bautista, and himself, is kind of a blank slate. I only have 1 second left, so that's all I got to say. Goodbye. Where's my flourish?
You have 30 seconds left. I can't end a timer without the flourish, man. Keep rambling.
I
do your thing.
I just did a thing. It said 5 minutes. I used my own. All right, whatever.
Oh,
okay. So my point is
I
that
gave you like 30 seconds back as we interrupted you.
Yeah, shut up. All right. So another thing is, a lot of people will say, like, I don't have connections to these characters. I'm a huge Marvel guy. You know who I didn't have any connection to at all? I barely even knew they existed, were the Guardians of the Galaxy. So to me, you got both of these films introducing really unknown characters, like and making them human. And unfortunately, I just side a little bit more with Guardians on this one. I like what James Gunn's going for.
Is that better, flourish, man?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right.
Jesus. All right.
All right. Lauren,
what?
Are you poking holes in him first or me?
Well, I think it's interesting that he was talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, because it's funny. I almost said this during my 5 minutes. That's how I've been describing the movie to people. I'm like, hey, did you like Deadpool? Did you like Guardians of the Galaxy? Cool. It's an R-rated Guardians of the Galaxy. I don't have a problem with that. Like, I don't understand. Like, if he had done the Suicide Squad first and then he did Guardians of the Galaxy, we'd all be like, oh, this is just like a PG-13 Suicide Squad.
Sure would.
Like, so I mean, he does it well. He does a band of misfits well, but those band of misfits also all deserve love. Mm-hmm. And I think that that's important.
Yeah. And I'll counter Will to say another thing in a different angle. I disagree with where he's saying where DC's trying to be Marvel. I think DC went out of its way, at least initially in this DCEU, to not be Marvel. Like, let me make these bold and serious takes on these characters, even though to me, DC, thanks to campy Batman and cute cartoon series, was always in my brain way lighter, other than Batman, way lighter than anything Marvel ever had. That you come out and you make the unsmiling Henry Cavill movie, and then you do 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag with Batman v Superman, where it's gravely serious and overpacked. And then when that doesn't sell because it's not Marvel and cute and light and what people remember from those archetypical, iconic characters like Batman and Superman, that's when after that is when they started to course correct and go, we need to lighten this stuff up, because the dark stuff, while cool and while bold and while daring, just isn't selling. Where if you're going to go, but they started taking chances, because if they copied Marvel initially, we would be like, oh, they're just trying to make Iron Man with a new kind of Batman that's light and fun and quippy, or they're just trying to make Captain America with the tried and true blue Boy Scout of Superman. Like, they would have gotten that knock. So I admire their attempts to kind of try to be dark and bold and kind of corner that market. It didn't work, and obviously they're trying to chase Marvel now, and I get all that. And I'm with Lauren here. Like, these characters are fun enough, and to me, worse off than any Guardians of the Galaxy character, where if a movie can make you, cheer and compare a little bit, or cheer and endear, it works. And this one sure did.
Well, I'm gonna make a hot take thing here.
Ooh.
With the exception of Margot Robbie, who's one of my favorite actors, she's fantastic. I honestly think that the casting is better in Guardians than it is here.
That's Marvel money for you. I'm no doubt.
I'll bet that. I don't think so. I don't think so.
No, that's why I'm saying it's going to be a hot take, because To me, I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions on Chris Pratt as a human being, and that's fine. But as an actor, at least in that role of Star Lord, like I felt what they're trying to do with Idris Elba as Bloodsport here,
Mhm.
they're trying to give them layers, like nuance and layers. And I think the
Yeah.
fact that Star Lord is kind of like this part goofy, part romantic, part hero, part like he's a very complex character, and Chris Pratt really
Yeah.
delivers that performance, and he anchors that whole thing. I think it's a
Sure.
better acting performance and a better actor in this sense than I think Idris Elba is more of a
Well, Idris Elba's
template.
not playing the affable everyman. He's playing
No.
the grizzled old, I'm too old for this shit Danny Glover part.
I agree, but the
He's
problem with
also
that,
a cold-blooded killer.
You're damn right.
I agree. I agree with that. However, my main problem with that is that I think we're past the era of pure vile antiheroes. I think we're used to, especially in superhero films, a more three-dimensional, complex character. To be honest with you, I
Sure.
mean that's how it is. So to me, this feels like regression. Like I feel like Bloodsport. Yes, he's really good at being like kind of like a snarky bad guy, but to me, it feels like
Hmm.
we're getting very few painted colors here, and that draws me out of a movie because I want more there. Like they try to do it. Don't say they don't. They try to do it with Bloodsport and his daughter. You know, they try to say like, oh, he's really a caring dad in the end, and like all this stuff. And I just never made that connection. Like all the things they tried to do to soften the characters when they did it never really worked with me. Um, and the reason
What do you
why I
think,
can,
Lauren?
yeah, what do you think, Lauren?
So there's no indication that he like goes home to be a dad
Right.
at
Oh
all
yeah,
I
after
agree.
that
sure,
mission. Like,
sure.
if anything, the daughter has new respect for him and they go into business together when she gets older or something,
Mhm.
right? Like, because he didn't care that she stole, you know, just that she did it wrong and for
Right,
something
right.
so stupid. Um, I think going back, so the Warner Brothers universe is extremely weak compared to Marvel's. And I think the main problem is Warner Brothers tried to do everything Marvel did in like half the time or a third of the time.
Right.
Marvel has spent a decade like cultivating their franchise by doing like Avengers, but then a standalone like Captain America movie, and then going back to the Avengers and then doing it. Like they have spent years to build this universe to
Mhm.
culminate with essentially Endgame, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
DC was like, cool, we want to do that, but we don't want to take 10 years to do
Right.
it.
They
Like, here's a
they
Batman, here's a
accelerated.
Superman, here's a Justice League. Boom. Like, no, absolutely not. Like,
Yeah.
we're getting a Flash standalone movie after we just got two
I
versions
know.
of Justice League. Like,
Mhm.
no. Like, they've tried to rush things, and honestly, here we go. Here, come at me, bros. Not you guys, bros, like online bros. I think Warner Brothers got themselves in trouble with Zack Snyder.
Uh-huh.
I think they boxed themselves into a corner because Zack Snyder has his Randian philosophy towards
Mhm.
Mhm.
Superman. Like like
Mhm.
that's not what Superman is. You have
I agree.
a plethora of DC hero. Like I know I said I don't read comic books and stuff, but again, remember I've known one for a decade now. Been married to one for 5. So like I same guy. Same, yeah, we've been together for 10 years. Like you have all these other type of characters that you could draw from and different
Yes.
ways that you can sculpt Batman. But like Superman is all wrong and it's not
I
Henry
agree.
Cavill's fault. He does a great job with what he's given as Superman.
I say he looks the part from the chin down, and that's it,
I
But the
think he does
best
a great job, but I
Ah,
think trying to make like a broody
I know.
Superman
Doesn't
like
fit.
it was done all wrong. Pa
Right.
Kent was done wrong. Like it was just not it
Right.
was not a good and that's how they started.
I know,
And then
and
they
that's
continued that
you can't
though.
screw up, and he's number 1. You can't screw up the number 1 guy.
No.
And
And like,
I look at what they're doing on television now, and he's perfect. Tyler Hoechlin's amazing. Like,
oh,
it's the
so I don't
wholesome
yeah, I cannot so that's an
try it.
interesting point. I think
Yeah,
DC kills it when it comes to like their TV series.
I agree.
I
That's the
think
tone
like their
that matches
TV
what they
series
are.
is when they're able to cultivate and they're doing like I watched Supergirl for a really long time. That show
Me
was
too.
great.
Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
right there
Like
with you.
So I think their TV side is better, but like and more developed. And then the issue is that they don't use the same actors to play the same roles, and I think that that's a problem because that's not how you create a universe. If you're going to cast the Flash as one guy, but then you're going to cast the Flash as a different guy in your TV show,
I
like
know.
I don't like that.
Yeah, they're
But
multiversing themselves to death, and it's not helping.
I think sorry, I don't even know what the original question was going back to Suicide Squad, but that was
I
the
think
thing
it's a
that sort of
casting
bothered me
thing.
the
Yeah,
most about
yeah.
like the universe Warner Brothers has built. But honestly, the Suicide Squad reminded me a lot of The Boys in a way. If you guys watch
Okay.
The Boys,
I
Mhm,
do not,
mhm.
but I've heard good things.
I mean, The Boys is definitely poses a question like basically what if superheroes were basically evil assholes? How do you stop evil Superman essentially? Like if you
Hmm.
have you and this was sort of similar to that regard. Like I think we're gonna know more about Peacemaker with the series.
I agree.
So like we didn't learn anything about Peacemaker, and I think that was deliberate.
I think
Um,
Peacemaker gave us enough because you have the straight arrow with the bent slant. You know what I mean? Like he's this altruistic person, but obviously steered himself in the wrong way, thinking of his righteousness. And I got enough of that with the hulking presence of Cena and the barbs he goes back and forth against with Idris Elba, where exploring that in a TV series, no problem. Table is set.
that's interesting because I almost think he was using America as an excuse
Oh,
for
I
all of
agree.
his violence, and he
Yeah,
wasn't actually patriotic at all. It was just
right. And that's
so
why
it's
I'm
interesting. I
saying
don't.
bent
I
and slanted. Yeah,
So you're saying that he sort of bought into his own bullshit.
I think so.
Okay,
Yeah,
and I sort of feel the opposite. I think
look how
he
dope as fuck I am and all that stuff like that, totally bought into
No,
that.
I definitely think he believes he's hot shit. I just think he's not
Yeah.
actually doing it for America. He's
Oh,
doing it
totally
because he
agree.
likes to kill people and he can do it
Yeah,
under the guise of America and it's like allowed.
and he can get away with that because he's the smiling pearly white Adonis of,
Right.
he's
And
John Cena.
I think John Cena, I actually really like John Cena. I'm getting to
Mhm.
like him more and more as an actor because I think he knows what he's capable of and what he's not capable of.
Mhm.
And he's honestly like except for maybe Dwayne Johnson's like early career when he was like what was it, the Tooth Fairy and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like, I think
He's
he
getting you
gets
through those
that
bumps in the road.
I think he gets that he looks like a big dumb jock, right?
Mhm.
I think he gets that he's not like the best actor and doesn't think like he is the best actor. So I think he's willing to like humiliate himself on
Yeah.
camera. Like if you guys saw Blockers,
Oh, yeah, or
like
I my kids and I have watched Playing with Fire.
yeah, oh, I wanted to see that. That looked cute. But yeah, so he's willing to like
Yeah.
do like
Do the
ridiculous
Nickelodeon stuff, get
gross
slimed on
shit. He's
TV.
willing to
Yeah.
do stuff that would defy, like his fan base that might be homophobic. Like he's willing to like do some things that sort of like subvert and be like, hey, like it's okay. Like it's not homophobic. Like yeah, like in
Mhm.
blockers. Like it's just I
Yeah.
don't know. I like him in that, although the other person I could have seen in that role was incidentally Nathan Fillion. I
Sure.
think he
Totally.
and John Cena have similar, like, with the strong jawline and the like, because
Mhm.
Captain Hammer is sort of like piece like, because Nathan
Right.
Fillion was Captain Hammer,
The hard
in
part is
the
filling in his age, he's probably aged himself out of being that part, so
I
which is
mean,
a shame.
I also
Missed
think it's just like
opportunity.
the whole James Gunn joke because he's also in
Oh, yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy for a second, and I think John Cena is great, in the role. So I do think that he was perfectly cast for what
Well,
that
Okay.
was.
that brings up another issue I wanted to segue and I want to get your opinion on.
Mhm.
And I know that this is part of the subversion of the genre or whatever you want to call it. Like it's like you're supposed to watch the film and go, "Oh, they killed all these people, and now it's about the other
Mhm.
group." The only problem I have with that is with maybe the exception of Harley Quinn, and you can make an argument for Polka Dot Man, I guess. Though I was a little underwhelmed. I think they killed all the cool people first. Like I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I'm a defender of Pete Davidson. You got Nate Fillion. You got Weasel, which was
Yeah.
cool. Michael Rooker. I just kind of felt like, even though that was the point, I guess, and it's kind of like a psycho fake out to be like, oh, we're really
Right.
not going to make this movie about Michael Rooker at all.
No.
That's fine,
Yeah.
but I
You
actually dug
answered your own
those
question.
characters. I actually dug those characters more. So
It's a shame.
I
I don't
So
mind the
here's the
rug pull.
thing. So here's the thing for me. I saw the original, like the teaser trailer that came out that had Pete Davidson and like Flula Borg, and I was like, no, those guys aren't gonna
Mhm.
make it.
Mhm.
Because
Right.
you're not gonna center your movie on Pete Davidson and Flula Borg,
No,
right?
totally agree.
They're
Yeah.
funny for what they are, and when they show up in something, like, that's what's great about it, but, like, and I like Pete Davidson. I'm not trying to, I know some people shit on him. I like Pete Davidson, but he's not carrying your movie, like,
No.
Flula, so I knew
He
that
can't even carry his
those
autobiographical movie. Come on.
ones weren't. I
Hey,
need to I need to see King of Staten Island, to be honest.
it's
But
a
Right.
like
great, it's a
I
great
like
movie.
Pete Davidson.
It's also overlong and effusive as well, so good
It's
luck.
fantastic. It's a fantastic movie. So shut up.
Oh, it sounds like you guys
Mhm.
disagree. You guys are on opposite ends. I need to see
Yep.
it.
Future show.
But I also, Michael Rooker has a very distinct look and a very distinct acting like,
Mhm.
I this movie would not, I don't think, have worked
Yeah,
if he, I mean, there's in Guardians of the Galaxy he's not a lead either.
I
Right.
He's
agree.
supporting. And so I think I don't think having him as a main member of the Suicide Squad, would the chemistry, it would have
Yeah.
meshed as
No, I
well
think
as the other ones did. But I admire anyone who creates a TV show or a movie and then kills off your characters.
oh, I agree. I think and that's
That's
the
a
fun part of,
bold
like,
risk.
pre-planned. By the time you're watching that opening credits where the IT people are taking their bets, that's playing right into the hands of let's see what happens. And the fun, the rug pulls and the swerves that James Gunn has the balls to put in his narrative. And that, yeah, that was the point, and it won over its point, in my opinion.
So that's the thing, is that point didn't work for me because on accident, I think that if it was a better written script, they would have been fun characters. You would be like, oh, bummer, they're dead. But the problem is who replaces them are basically, to me, stock boring characters. Like Rick
See, I
Flag.
can't do
Rick
that.
Flag to me doesn't work in any movie. Joel Kinnaman is very boring to me.
Yeah. Give him a little more bubble in this, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, he was so much better in this than
Yes, the first one.
in Ayers. Like, I
Yeah.
did not like Kinnaman as Flag. I thought I think he is a stiff actor. He
Mhm.
got to let loose a little bit in this one from the
Yeah.
minute they find him in the village, like
I
in the
agree.
Yeah,
jungle.
a little bit, but yeah, I mean, and this is not, and people have to understand in this internet age that when we say we don't like a character or an actor, like, or like a character that they're playing, we're not saying we don't like the person. Like John Cena, from everything I've read about him as a person, fantastic human being. I mean, I
Yeah.
think he has the record for what's
He
that?
sure does.
What's that program called where you
The Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Make-A-Wish Foundation? He has a record.
Yeah.
So great guy. I just don't think he's a great actor. I don't know. And then you know what? I know we're running out of time, but I want to get Lauren on the record.
That's just
for this.
15 minutes. We got plenty of time.
Right. I want Lauren to get on the record for this because, as I mentioned in the intro, she is a Stallone enthusiast. And when I say Stallone enthusiast, she is a Stallone enthusiast, people.
We
Like,
need this.
I mean, her first recommendation for this show to be the guest on was for Rhinestone. So,
Oh, man, that's right. That's right.
And Don shot that down immediately. Not me.
I did
Don did.
not. I did not. I'd gladly watch it.
Now, there is an argument out here going around which that disgusts me about how King Shark is better than Groot. We won't get into that here because you don't want to hear me cry like a little man.
We're getting into that here.
But
the audience is here for you crying like a baby. Lauren poke the bear.
I would like Lauren to touch on her boy, Sylvester Stallone, being in this movie. King Shark is obviously one of the successes of this movie, I think, regardless of how I feel about the film.
Mm-hmm.
I always laughed whenever he did something, and I felt a little bad for him. And plus, the CGI is incredible.
Yeah.
So let's get your take on Sly in this movie, Lauren. What's your take?
So I think, so as a person, I think you can tell, and even in interviews, Stallone has taken himself less seriously the older he has gotten. He still has, he still has an ego. Like, boom, he still has an ego. But I think he capitalizing on the fact that he sounds like, a dumb kind of meathead, right? Because of like how his voice sounds, which isn't his fault, and how his face looks, which isn't his fault. So I think he was perfect for this. And I know that there are different takes on King Shark, and I know that there's a Harley Quinn animated series, and it has my boy Ron Funches, as King Shark, whom I also love. And I think I was sitting here wondering, would it have worked if Sylvester Stallone was King Shark, but then said more words? Like, what if
Mhm.
he was like a smart King Shark, right? Instead of playing up the
Yeah.
dumbness of a big old shark galoot, right?
Right,
And
right.
I honestly don't know the answer. Like, I don't know
I
if it would
do.
have been hilarious to have him reading books about astrophysics and spouting off facts, but sounding like Sylvester Stallone,
I would have
or
loved
if it
that,
works
not gonna lie.
better having him be just like bird, like, I
Yeah.
don't know.
So
I don't
basically,
know.
I'm with
you
you.
want
Any amount of Stallone is wonderful Stallone. I would have
Oh,
gladly taken
no,
more.
100%. I'm just trying to think because James Gunn had said he had written King Shark for Stallone, like with Stallone in mind, because they had worked together on Guardians together.
Yeah.
And but he was like afraid to ask him to do it. He didn't think he would do it. So he brought in other voice actors and he didn't name
Okay.
names, but he mentioned that some of them were like quote of note. Like so he brought
Mm.
in like some famous actors to read for King Shark and it just wasn't working. And so he finally was like, I'm gonna have to ask. Like, I'm gonna have to ask. And Sly was like, absolutely. So, um, so Sly did it. And so I think it's great when a part is written for. He wrote Bloodsport also for Elba as well,
Mhm.
even though he didn't actually know him at all. He still
interesting.
wrote Bloodsport with him in mind. But I think I loved King Shark, and I thought it was kind of a great in-joke choice because we all joke about
Right.
Stallone is not a dumb person at
No.
all, but
Very
he
smart
always
guy.
comes across that way, like, in the movies he does and just because of how he sounds and looks, you know? So I think it's
Mhm.
sort of a wink wink to that.
Okay.
Well, and I
Alright.
was going to say, if you want him to be reading books on high science and things that you just want him to be Dolph Lundgren, then is basically what I'm assuming you want.
Can we
Because
get Dolph to, like, come in and take over Killer Croc or something like that? It'd be great.
Oh my
Come
god, that
in.
would be amazing.
Uh-huh,
Dolph
uh-huh.
Lundgren is pretty much
Solomon
the
Grundy, Dolph Lundgren.
yeah, because Dolph Lundgren is pretty much the epitome of that. Because that's my favorite go-to like bar fact. I'll be like,
Alright.
hey, did you know that Dolph Lundgren was he has a doctorate in chemistry? And it's like, you're like,
Yeah.
huh? Yeah. So
Damn.
Yeah, no, he does. He's like nuclear, like knows like about nuclear bombs and like yeah,
I
he's
did
like
not
super
know
smart.
that. How about that? Son of a gun.
yeah,
But, of course, looks and sounds the way he sounds, so how about that? Alright, since we are getting towards the end of the thing here, I'll kinda I'll throw out a I don't wanna say a final question if you guys have more stuff you wanna do, but I'll throw this one out there. Do you or do anyone here, do you want more of this? Is there room for a Suicide Squad third film? Lauren, I go to you, the guest first.
I think there is, and what's interesting to me is apparently there's been like discourse on Twitter about like, is this a sequel or a reboot? And I thought it
Right?
was a reboot, but then people were like, no, 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 it's actually like a sequel, and that's how Harley and Boomy
Mhm.
know each other.
Right.
And I don't know. I think one way or the other. I think honestly, yeah, like I can't see Warner Brothers not doing another one or not doing something with these characters. I mean, to get the emotional gravitas that you're talking about, Will, I mean, it would work for a series, but we already
Yeah.
do have something like that with the boys in a way.
hmm
Mhm. And then maybe what
Um,
Peacemaker's gonna be here soon
and
too,
with
right?
Peacemaker, so I mean, I think Peacemaker could potentially open up. I think honestly, DC should probably stick with some of these, you know, weirder, off the beaten
Sure.
path characters, like you were talking about, Will, or doing some of their like alternate universe or Elseworld stuff.
Well,
Um,
let me poke a little further. Bring these characters that we've now had a really good corrective movie to enjoy, or do we keep doing the Suicide Squad well and go back to the prison, recruit 5 more people, and bring new people in? Would you rather see these people return or new people come in?
Oh
I
my
know,
gosh,
I
that's
know.
difficult. I
Yeah.
think you could maybe do if you were gonna do a series, I think you would have to use different people.
Mhm.
But I know Robbie has quoted as saying that she doesn't plan on playing Harley for a long time because it's just a lot.
Yeah.
And so that sounds like there's no indication that there's going to be
Okay.
I don't know. I wouldn't mind seeing I think this story has been told now. I think we got
Yeah.
the redemption for a lot of these characters. I think there's so much more like we with Weasel, with Javelin, like you could still do prequel like I don't know. I think there's others you could use
Okay.
that would be as fun. Like Will really liked TDK and Javelin and like all the and Michael Rooker's character. So I think there's more there.
Okay. Will, what do you think?
I will say this. This will be the ultimate damning part of my review of the Suicide Squad. I have to say the Suicide Squad.
I know.
It's Ohio State University and Juilliard School. I know what you mean.
So that, there's that theory out there that there's like the Antichrist. For me, Jai Courtney is the anti-charisma. And the fact that this movie made me miss him is the most damning thing about the Suicide Squad. So that's my final thought on that. So do I want to see more? Yes, I guess. I don't mind seeing King Shark again.
You got him, Lauren.
No. I don't mind seeing the story again. I just want Disney, Jesus Christ. I want DC I want DC to not Disneyfy this and just try to repeat a formula, because that was my biggest problem with this, is that I don't like the original Suicide Squad either, but at least, like you said, with those Batman movies and Superman movies and stuff, they actually tried something. So I think, and then the biggest problem, and I'm seeing a lot of stuff about this on Twitter today, we are in a pandemic, but people are saying this movie is going to be a box office bomb or a failure at the very least, because it's a poor opening weekend. We are in a pandemic, but the problem is that you had something like Black Widow make 80 million its opening weekend, and this made 12.
Can I chime in on that?
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Sorry, I need to chime in on that. So Black Widow found the sweet spot because the Delta variant had not become what it was now.
In July 4th weekend. Yeah, all that.
Yes. So Black Widow was the sweet spot. Here's the thing. Releasing a movie on day and date that is good and has positive word of mouth and more positive reviews than negative hurts the film's box office just as much as negative word of mouth does, but in a different way.
I agree with that.
We saw this with In the Heights as well.
Yep.
In the Heights, despite having valid criticisms about how certain members of the Latinx community are represented or not represented, there was overwhelmingly positive reviews and word of mouth. And the same is happening for the Suicide Squad. And I don't buy the argument that the Suicide Squad is a niche movie, because the other one is a musical featuring like Latino and Black actors.
Right.
So I don't buy the argument that the Suicide Squad on its own is niche. I think the issue is
sure.
The Suicide Squad is good. And right now outside is very bad, and outside could kill you. So I think thousands of people are watching the Suicide Squad at home because of the word of mouth.
I would love to see some HBO
that's
stats.
That's the thing. I don't think the movie is failing. It's not failing because it's bad. It's failing because it's actually really, really good. And Warner Brothers has allowed you the option to watch it from the comfort of your couch.
I know. And that is same thing with it. You said it best within the Heights. Like that availability, you give people in this situation and in this environment, that availability, they're going to stay home. Especially if they're a big family and a big crowd trying to not pay $12 a head to go. I'm with you. To answer the original question, I'll say, I'm down for more of this, but I'm with you where you can't, you can't keep repeating this formula. You can't have Amanda Waller show up in the first 5 minutes of the movie, recruit another 6 stooges to come out here and do another dumb mission for another thing. Like, if you keep that what am I trying to say? If you keep that repetitive storytelling going, that has a limit. But if you bring these villains back in with a different, adversary or target or thing or just method, then it can work, But it's going to be tough to keep at least these smaller characters going without a little bit of help, and maybe Peacemaker's that help, but we'll see. I'm down for it. I'm down for anything James Gunn wants to do with the flourish that he does. So I'm in.
Okay,
Joe.
Well, I told you guys that, I've always told you guys that Don is stupid, but I've also told you that Lauren is very smart. So I think that has been proven today on both counts.
Oh, man.
So.
No, that's not. That's not fair. Don, you seem lovely.
You seem lovely too. And then remember, there's the hotness of the tattoo where now you have lovely and hot. So my goodness, you're doing great.
I'll take it.
Before this digresses, Lauren,
See,
we'll close this out
no.
here.
See, here's the thing. I'm in
Yeah.
punching distance of
Ooh.
her husband, so I can't say these things. You're in Chicago. You can
I
say
am in
those things.
Chicago.
Like
I'm
You
in
know,
Chicago.
I'm in my mid-30s, and so it's nice to get
Right? Okay.
it's nice to get outside attention. It's fine. It's
You
nice.
bet. I'll keep licking my microphone over here. No problem. No problem. If it enhances the show quality, we're good. We're good.
Oh boy. Wow,
So
what an end.
no,
All right.
Lauren, this is your chance
Yes.
for that stump. We're not Hot Ones and Sean, but all that. But tell us where the people can find you on social media.
Oh yeah, please do follow me. I am on Twitter and Instagram. My handle is that movie is fine. That's also my Letterboxd handle as well. So if you want to see how I rate movies, but yeah, so that is my handle. That movie is fine because I think we should normalize that a lot of movies are just fine, and I think that that's also just fine.
Right.
Like the Suicide Squad. Exactly.
So you know what? I gave it 4.5 stars out of 5 because I actually did think that it was a little bit long. I do think it was a little bit long, and that's sort of like the whole when they do get to Jotunheim, it's sort of like is like a different movie.
Yeah.
So I agree with you on that, Will, where you said it was a little bit long, but I'd rather them do that than try and do a 90-minute movie with all the same stuff.
Right. Agreed.
So.
All right. Will, hit us with the closer, man.
If you are local to Phoenix, Tempe, Chandler, Ahwatukee, etc., in the Phoenix Valley, which is ginormous and also baking hot. Lauren is the programmer there at what is currently Alamo, what will soon be Majestics and McGrills. I don't know if you go to the other locations, but I've met you many times at the Tempe location. You can't miss her. She's awesome. She's got these very notable glasses, cool haircut, and obviously, according to Don, the sexiest tattoo on the planet. So you can bump into her. She will talk to you. Like I said, I just asked her one time about some things. I just asked a random question about Angel Heart, and we went into it for about 10 minutes. It was fantastic. So please say hi to her. She's fantastic. And then, she obviously puts these great events on. So if you're local here in Phoenix, I'm just going to say Phoenix in general, seek out her programming, but also seek her out in person at these venues. She's great.
Aw, thanks.
Look at that guy. Look at that guy. Teddy bear.
Cool.
Can your husband punch him anyway, just for fun?
No, they'd get along.
Right.
My husband likes Marvel movies. He just Batman is his guy. Batman.
I totally get it. All right, I'm going to do the outro now. So enjoy this. Follow us on Twitter at Cinephile Fit and on Facebook at Cinephile Hissy Fits Podcast. Also find us both on Letterboxd. I actually was just trying to find Lauren on Letterboxd as she was talking. I didn't have any luck, but she gave you a message to search for. I am Will Joe, and Don is Casablanca Don. You maybe just no. You know what? I'm not going to read this part because we never post a poll.
Okay, deal.
But we're not going to do it. So thank you so much for your captive audience and social media participation. Cinephile Hissy Fits is a 25YL media podcast brought to you by ruminationsradionetwork.com. Please visit, rate, review, and subscribe. If you enjoyed this show, we have more where that came from with interesting hosts and many more interesting, wonderful guests. All available on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere you find your favorite shows.
Lauren, thank you so much. Hope to have you back in the future.
Absolutely. I'd love to be back. Whenever Stallone has a new movie out, I'm down. Or the Rocky IV director's cut.
Yes. Now we're talking.
Is that coming out soon?
November, right?
It's supposed to be coming out November 11th. And then I've seen his new movie called Samaritan twice already. But I don't know if that's going to be pulled until next year or not. It was supposed to be out already. And then it had an October release date. And then there's still not a trailer for it. So I'm wondering if it's going to be United Artists is going to hold it until next year. Anyway, he plays sort of like an old disgruntled superhero in that one, actually.
Ooh,
so that's an interesting one to talk about if it ever comes.
We're in. Yeah.
No, we definitely have to get you back on for Stallone specific, because your Stallone fanfare is intense. I don't think I've ever met anyone who likes Stallone as much as you.
There are definitely people online for sure, but I feel like I've one of someone who's like seen like every movie of his, and I feel like that I really can say that.
God, no, it's true. I know we're not recording anymore, but I just pulled up your.
We are
letterbox
totally
today.
recording. Good luck.
Oh,
I didn't
we
stop.
still are?
I'll let
Okay.
Mitch edit where he wants to edit. But I'll
Okay,
hit the stop button. I'll hit the stop button.
What's up, gang? This is Hoptimus. You've been listening to one of the great new podcasts from Ruminations Radio Network. If you want some more tasty sound vibes, come check out my new podcast, The Retro Futurist Culture, where we talk about alternate timelines, cyberpunk, anime, and other crazy worlds. If that does not strike your fancy, we have plenty of other great shows at ruminationsradionetwork.com.